recording with the one and only Mr. Jeffrey Prather, who has the patience of a saint and puts up with my 3 a.m. text. Can you do an episode tomorrow? Like he does these because it counts as like community service and it's good karma. He's just doing them because he's working off some former debts. He's like, I'm gonna help out this kid who's clearly a little not all there, not all the light bulbs are on, but I'll help him out and maybe I'll reap the rewards in the afterlife. But because today is a super short episode, Mr. Prather, just introduce yourself real quick, and then I want to talk about the uranium fire. Is this just another coincidence? Is this sabotage?
Well, I do have to account for my sins, but I support your patriotic work, and this younger generation is going to restore and rescue our republic because we've left you a mess. So I'm a retired SOCOM soldier, served in special forces and PSYOPs, former Defense Intelligence Agency intelligence officer, and ex-DEA special agent, fired as a whistleblower, 19 years on the job, fired with no bad avals because I whistle blew fast and furious. The DEA had to deal with the Sinaloa cartel to run drugs north in exchange for the guns going south. And in a nutshell, that's my story.
Yeah. And I've done several episodes with you before. They're all very good. And in the description is your channel, your show, your website, your Twitter, all that good stuff. So go check him out. He's a lot more qualified to talk about this than I am. So is this I get coincidence. I also get the what is it, Bonhoeffer something syndrome, where if you start looking for it, you see it more. I get that. I get everyone's got an eye on train derailments now. Everyone had an eye on every plane after 9/11. Okay, I can accept that. It's like all metal alloy plants. It's all things vital to defense production. And now at a national security facility involved in uranium, is this a nation state actor?
Is it a nation state actor? I don't know if it's a nation state actor, but I would assess with high confidence that it's another sabotage, certainly. So, I think you read my book, Chase, which is about a SATM, a small atomic demolition munition coming across a backpack nuke. But the first thing to remember about this is where the atomic bomb was assembled. They just developed a new facility there at this Y-12. Now, remember, there was a missile strike. I say there was a missile strike in Tennessee a while back. And I think this is related to the train derailment. But in 2019, there was a incident with Consolidated Nuclear Security, which is the commercial company that runs the facility. And they also have a facility in Texas, and that's where the incident was at. And they were issued a enforcement letter, kind of a rebuke letter for that incident. And of course, they're not really saying, because DOE, Department of Energy stuff, nuke stuff, is highly classified. This is where you get the Q clearance stuff. A lot of ex-Delta guys end up doing security for these things because the stakes are so high. But the other factor also is that that Putin and the Russians just suspended, not left, but they suspended the START treaties. I actually wrote my master's paper in international relations on the START treaties. I was real familiar with that back in the day. And so, first of all, there's too many interlocking points here for this to be coincidence. Of course, all the sabotage, the ops tempo of what I call the Fourth World War, fifth generation information influence operation, ops tempo has really picked up. And although I'm not exactly sure what happened here, I have a general idea as an intelligence assessment, having looked at the East Palestine sabotage, which I assess 100%, just like I assessed the Nord Stream pipeline. George Webb and I were on your show. I assessed it 100%. And then we came out. I mean, I think Palestine was the same thing. I think this is the same thing with multiple purposes behind that. But So this past week, so to project what has happened with this fire, I think it's best to look back at the Palestine, because over the weekend I had Team America Ohio on the ground. I had Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers, retired Special Forces Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers, also a medical doctor, was up there. I worked closely with him. We liaised. Some of my naturopath headquarters folks were on the ground there too. And the real story there looks like it fits into the agenda, the WEF Agenda 2030, and that there are private corporations who want to get those oil fields in Ohio. And also, if the government takes them over as Superfund sites because they are polluted, because the groundwater, the land, and the oil is polluted, then the government takes them over, then they control them. That's something they've done for a long time with the tribes. And that looks like is what is happening here. So as our government has been defeated by a 2020 fifth generation war by the nation state of China. There was a general, PLA general, who said that is defeating the government, not us, but the government, because there were traitors in the government. Then after the war, typically when you win a war, you come in and pillage and plunder. We are being pedoed, pushed, pimped, and plundered and pillaged throughout. Corporate raiders, the cartels I fought were illegal, Sinaloa. Now it's the legal cartels. That's what it looks like was happening in Ohio. And that's what it looks like it may be happening here as well. There's a company called, and I'm just kind of getting on top of this, Hyperion X, now trading on the NASDAQ, that is going for the titanium, cobalt, and nickel in the area. So just like in the train derailment, it's a tri-state area that is a crucial hub. This looks like that as well, so that these sold out government officials can take these resources. In the train derailment, it's Divine and Mansion of West Virginia looking like they're making deals with these companies. There's one Thai oil company involved. And of course, the whole Biden gangster regime doesn't want us to have any oil. They want us. That's why they're selling off the strategic reserve and everything else to cripple and destroy the economy so that they can bring about this new world order, which they may be executing by the next year or 2030. Looks like the same thing that Governor of Virginia and Democratic Senator Warner and Kane are also in on that. That's what it looks like to me there, because they just got a new fire facility there. The facilities are real old, and they just had an incident in the Texas Consolidated Nuclear Facility. So while I don't think that and I also have on my team some international experts on hazmat situations. I don't really have, I've written articles on NBC, chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear. I've published on that, but in this area, I'm not much of an expert, but I do have experts that have been informing me on this. They say that there's very little release likely, but let me see if I can even find that. But to me, it looks like it was a cover operation. Think back to Waco, and I was actually in firearms school at the FBI Academy when that happened. And when I saw it burning, I thought of all the tribal women and children burning. And then, of course, the FBI pumps all the tear gas in there. Then they shoot tracers in there, which, of course, is, catch it on fire. That's my favorite mistake of police officers, when they CS somebody and then they tase them and they light them up literally on fire. And I've seen the FLIR, the forward-looking infrared images from the armored personnel carriers. They clearly did that. And then what they did after that was they bulldozed the wreckage into the fire. They destroyed the crime scene, exactly opposite of what they are supposed to do. It may be that they did the same thing in East Palestine, and it also may be the same thing they are doing here at this fire. I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. Thank you for that that brilliant answer. Yeah, I don't think it's coincidental that it's in the middle of all that farmland, all those water reservoirs, and yeah, they have the disaster, and now the government's gonna need to come in and yeah, take control of this new denied toxic territory, and that's exactly what it's gonna be is state-owned land.
So in the East Palestine, it looks like the government's going to come in and the corporates will come in and buy it off. In the Y12 facility in Tennessee, it's already a government
Yeah.
facility, but it's out through a corporate entity. But this is one of the 100 big military industrial companies working with Northrop Grumman. So I do have experience with these large military industrial complexes, and so that starts to look like an aspect there. And I do have, as far as so that's what I think is actually happening there and why you're not going to hear. As far as danger, my expert says that it's probably alpha particle disbursement, respiratory protection, and avoiding consuming anything contaminated. Alpha doesn't travel very much. A piece of paper could stop it. And so COTS, which is commercial off-the-shelf gear, could take care of that, although they probably have the GOTS, which is the government gear. And now we're kind of getting into the Identifinder R400 all-purpose radionuclide devices and stuff like that. And GOTS gear, government off-the-shelf gear is UDR 13, ANDPR 77, way above my expertise in that. But it doesn't look like that. But with the government trying to scare about nuclear attacks, and again, I assess no nuclear attacks. It's irrelevant weaponry for this kind of war. The big joke was the F-22 Sidewinder shooting down the balloon and the pilot taking a selfie. It's just a pathetic show. It's got nothing to do with anything. Russia also did say, though, in Ukraine, if they used uranium depleted shells, for example, the A-10 Warthog, the aircraft that the Army loves and the Air Force hates for ground support, can fire uranium depleted shells into tanks. They said, and there's also artillery that could do that. And we just gave them some artillery, which isn't going to matter. They're going to lose anyway. They are losing. There's only a few, Ritter and McCullough and me, and only a couple other folks assessing that. But Russia said that if you use those, then we will consider the nuclear treaties void because you're using nuclear weapons. And so then now you just suspended that. That may now be that they are using those shells out of those artillery pieces or tanks. I don't think they got Warthogs, A-10s over there doing that. But when you have those things in place, then it reads like there was a nuclear attack. You can easily simulate a nuclear attack. You just spread the dust around and then you get the counters, and you can cause the panic that you saw possibly being caused in California when they're getting school kids to duck and cover again to use it to take over more as well. So that looks like a piece of that, but it may be a subgroup taking advantage because the plunderers are many, and they may just be taking advantage of that. But to me, I do tend to see a covert out behind every bush, but that's because it's my meat and potatoes. But it certainly looks like that's the case here, and I think I've laid out a pretty rational, methodical, step-by-step method of why that would be and why that would be now.
You think there's any? I do give credit to the World Economic Forum possibility. Do you think it could also be we're letting this happen to sort of build up a groundswell of even more support for why we gotta go take on Russia or some shit? they're going to come out with breaking news. It turns out Russia derailed the train. Or do you think they want that? They want that
Yeah.
fear?
Oh, no, they certainly could do that. There was just a article that came out showing how I just published it and talked about it today. I can't think of the system where they were using the State Department was using some kind of commercial intelligence service to bring about Russian disinformation. I don't recall what it is off the hand, but that reminded me exactly of CIA ORCON. So ORCON is a caveat typically used with secret level. There's confidential, secret, top secret, and everything else is a caveat or a special access program or something like that. But when you see an ORCON, when I saw an ORCON document, it's usually CIA, means originator controlled ORCON. And what that means is we originate the intelligence, so it is whatever we say it is. I saw this in Honduras when I was working with the Contras and saw the CIA messing around there, where we were doing a good job, and Ali North and the CIA guys were, making up, messing again, just like Ray Epps, today. And so this to me looks like another originator controlled CIA or some intelligence component controlling and releasing this. And of course, this ties into the Q, because the Q clearance for the Q movement, comes out through the DOE. And, by the way, I thought Q was legitimate in that Ezra Cohen Watnick, I actually outed him as the head of the Q team because I heard that Barr was going to indict him. Barr had been CIA, was Attorney General, who was hoping he would have changed, but certainly had not. So I see CIA, intelligence community, deep state running through all of this, and certainly at the behest of WEF. There's many masters. There's the nation state of China. There's the WEF. There's basically whoever pays them. When you're running a high level informant who really has inside tracks, they will just rotate agencies. And I have experience with that. And they're real sharp, they're real streetwise. And if you're not careful, they'll run you and they'll turn you against each other. So it could be multiple puppeteers running, or it could be real sharp sources that are inside moving between different sources. But basically, I think it comes back to pillaging and plundering us. And it creates, I can see the interest for the military industrial Northrop Grumman consolidated nuclear security. I can see the WEF interest. I can see the deep state interest. I can see the Chinese interest because we don't have control of our nuclear facilities. So we lose confidence in our military, which is what the American people have always had high confidence in. So it fits all of those nicely. But of what one it is, I don't know. But I, again, would assess high probability that this is sabotage and probably a cover operation. So maybe there's a SATM, because the specific job here of that facility, of that processing area, is the assembling, disassembling, and making safe of nuclear munitions. So it would not surprise me now if some of those have gone missing. That's what happened when the Soviet Union fell. And that's kind of the premise of my book, Chase, is everybody grabbed them because they could sell them later on. That may exactly be the same thing happening here.
Oh God. Oh no. They're not going to announce something goes missing.
No. But so a small SATM, if it's set off on a city, especially around tall buildings, it's not very bad. The blast radius is contained by the tall buildings. The SATMs were for, now, going back about 20 years, it was a DIP mission. It was a die-in-place mission for special forces, mostly in East Germany, if we went to war with the Soviet Union. And there were certain guys who put on these backpacks and went across, and they hit dams and they hit structures. And they're like, hey, you're supposed to evac E&E, but you can't E&E, far enough away. But they aren't major. They're not airburst major intercontinental ballistic missiles. They're just little big bombs. But it would not be the damage by the bomb. It would be the terrorism and confusion created by the bomb.
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be the damage of COVID. It would be all the fear around it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
We've talked about this before, and I know the answer is yes, and it's you and me and everyone. But do you think there are any good guys left? Are there any good people left in there fighting in the government, or has it been taken over, cooed, controlled, bunch of pedos?
No, I think there's some good. I did a while back. I did a whistleblower speech with an FAA group with Todd Callender, and he came back and said that from that, about 300 FBI whistleblowers had come forward. We saw FBI whistleblowers on the seventh floor who said, "Hey, the seventh floor. Remember, Hillary referred to the seventh floor." Had their iPhones in a SCIF, in a special compartmented information facility. Well, that means that guy was inside that. So right at the top, they are losing. There's whistleblowers right there, and the FBI is the storefront for the intelligence community. It's the cleanup squad, kind of like Twitter. It's a storefront for intelligence. And so, no, there was the young FBI agent who came out and said, "I'm not going to do long gun stuff against civilians." So there are some young guys, like you, that are standing up. The old guys like me, they eliminated. Even after they fired me, I actually talked to some of my peerage, and they had kind of sidelined the experienced agents because we knew, right, wrong, and they were bringing in a whole new crowd.
Mm,
For example, CIA officers are typically young Ivy League folks. They don't have much experience. It's a kind of the same profile at the FBI. DEA used to hire, grizzled old cops, and DIA had, of course, experienced soldiers. That's not what FBI and CIA ever had because they weren't impressionable. They already had experience. They already had morals. So there's going to be so yeah, there's still hope in there. The top is completely pedophiles and monsters, without a doubt, and they're doubling down on all of this. But in there are some young folks that haven't been on the job that long. There was a Georgia cop who quit recently. He said, "Hey, I don't have 10 years on a job. I'm not married. I can go before they fire me, and I know they're going to fire me. I'll just quit, so I don't have a firing, and I'll go get a job in Florida or Texas or something like that." But the most important thing to understand about that is they're attriting their own forces. It's kind of like that black group that was carrying around malfunctioned weapons and shooting each other in the foot. Uh, they are in the process of doing that while they get rid of the experienced guys, and then the moral guys leave. The most committed wins the fight. And then you're left with these, tranny pedos who, don't know from day to day what they are or what they stand for. So in the long run, we will win this, but it's not going to be anytime soon. It's decades or even centuries. And I also assess Russia will become an even greater ally to us later on as
interesting.
this happens.
Interesting. Um, and I know we gotta wrap this one up. You and I have yet to do an episode on your book, and I really want to do an episode on your book. So I'm gonna text you after this, and that'd be cool if we could put that together sometime.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I just sold a set of books. I'm just about out of my signed books of my initiation and Chase book. Um, but yeah, Chase was supposed to be a movie with Val Kilmer. I had Val Kilmer call me up. That was kind of cool. And I know West Studi. I've done movies with him. They were going to be in it back in the day, but it fell apart. But it's still a realistic scenario, and it could. Well, it wouldn't be. I don't think the Muslim terrorists today. I think it could be, but they'd be brought in by the corrupt government because we're certainly bringing in military age fighting men across the border
Hmm,
all the time. But yeah, happy to do that.
that would be great. Yeah, I'm gonna make a note of that. That would be great. I'd love to do that. Um, Mr. Jeffrey Prather, thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this on short notice. Guys, go subscribe to his podcast, go follow him, all that good stuff. Mr. Prather. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Take care.
Much love, brother. Take